Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of the Community Conversations event hosted at the Ras Al Khaimah Finance Festival, titled Animal Welfare in Ras Al Khaimah and the United Arab Emirates. We are very excited to have with us today two speakers, Mr. Abdulla Blooshi, the Operations Director at the Landscape Agency in the Public Services Department of the Ras Al Khaimah government, and Dr. Omer Al Kutubi, a proprietor, small animal physician, surgeon, and founder of Village Vet LLC. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sakar Al-Malki. I'm the Innovation Specialist at the Al Qasmi Foundation for Policy Research.
Hello everyone, my name is Janan Farhat and I'm the Research Assistant at the Al Qasmi Foundation for Policy Research. We will be your moderators for today's session.
Thanks, Janan, and thank you very much for all the speakers and our audience for coming. Just to explain the structure of the session today, so we will begin by speaking briefly about the strategic report of the Al Qasmi Foundation published recently on animal welfare in the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah and the United Arab Emirates by Janan. Then we will begin the community conversation session with our speakers, asking them some of our own questions as well as questions submitted online. And lastly, we will have a 20 to 30 minute long open session where we open the floor to the audience for questions. So let's get started.
Okay, so over the last year, we noticed that there have been increasing reports of stray, abandoned, and surrendered animals in Ras Al Khaimah and the other Emirates. Of course, this has led to many complaints from the community to address the issue because these animals, of course, sometimes pose environmental and public health concerns. We also noticed that there are a lot of animals that are, malnourished and underfed, so this is also a concern to many community members. And because these animals can threaten the natural ecosystem and also they are not particularly well cared for in every situation, it's important to address this, and this is of course why we're here today. So the Al Qasmi Foundation has conducted a report on animal welfare, and some of you may actually have received a brochure on this, discussing some of our main strategic report findings as well as a couple of the recommendations. So I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the key findings that are included in the report. For one, we noticed that there are a diverse range of animal welfare stakeholders, but most of them are concentrated in Dubai. About half of them are concentrated in Dubai, actually. Stakeholders would include veterinary clinics, also animal welfare centers, pet shops, volunteer groups, etc. And this, of course, is important to address because there should be more animal welfare stakeholders in other Emirates, and we're very happy, of course, to have today some of them seated right here. Another key finding we have is that most stakeholders offer services that are focusing on profitability, but not all of them are engaged in addressing animal welfare through education, pet rescue, or TNR. And this is something that we particularly want to raise awareness about. In fact, of the animal stakeholders that were surveyed, only 9 of them conduct TNR, which is quite a shame. Another key finding that we noticed and that we included in the report is that there is a higher number of abandoned and surrendered animals in the Northern Emirates. This could potentially be due to financial pressures. There were a lot of people who couldn't keep their animals during COVID. So this is something that the community should address, and also potentially looking into ways that we can help people with limited income continue to care for their pets. Another key finding, and actually this is something that almost all stakeholders that were interviewed mentioned, was that there isn't enough community awareness about animal welfare. People don't always know who to turn to. They don't know, who to file complaints with, or even just who to call or send an email to, which is why we'll be asking our animal welfare stakeholders some of these questions that we received from the community. Aside from that, I also want to mention a few key recommendations that we included. So for one, we want to encourage, or we actually recommend, the formation of a centralized multilingual information database. This database could be accessible to people who speak multiple languages, so not just speakers of English or Arabic, but also Hindi, Malayalam, etc. And this would also enable them to report any issues related to stray animals in one location so that they don't have to file complaints with multiple entities. Another recommendation was the establishment of an interdepartmental governmental committee on stray and abandoned animals that meets regularly to address court concerns. This is something that the Al Qasmi Foundation is actually spearheading. Yes. So this is something that we're working on right now with several governmental departments. Actually, Mr. Abdulla Blooshi will be a member of this Animal Welfare Committee as well, so we're very happy to announce that. And another recommendation that we have is, of course, improving education and awareness-raising campaigns to reach more segments of society. This is why we're here today. This is why we have the pet-friendly weekend scheduled as well. So people who are interested in pets or who have pets or who don't have pets and just want to know more can ask these very relevant questions to the people who know the most. And lastly, also, we think it's important to extend animal welfare support to pet owners with limited financial resources who cannot afford private veterinary care. This is something that I'm sure our stakeholders today will be more than happy to speak on as well, but it's just good to take into account other people with limited income. So to read more about our findings and recommendations, we encourage you to check out the strategic report by scanning the QR code on this particular brochure, and that will also enable you to read in a lot more detail about what we've done, what we encourage, and what we found. So now turning to our animal welfare experts, before we dive in, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourselves and perhaps describing your background, your experience working with animals? Yeah, maybe we can start with you, Mr. Abdullah.
Thank you so much. My name is Abdulla Blooshi, and I'm the Operation Director on the Landscape Agency, which is the animal welfare is part of. We are all under the Public Service Department. My background is away from the animals, but I'm a guy who have pets since he was young. So yeah, that's how I got into the animal welfare things.
Thank you so much. Dr. Omar, please.
Okay, thank you very much for this amazing opportunity, and it's really very good to talk about the issues. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Omer Al Kutubi. I'm the CEO and founder of Village Vet LLC in Ras Al Khaimah. I graduated from as a vet from Mosul University in Iraq, and then finished my training in the UK, and then I done some postgraduate as well, and then I relocated here in 2010, where I worked in Dubai, and then 2015 I came here, and then I started the journey. So yeah, so it's a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Omar. Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. So we can start a question for you, Abdullah. So about the TNR services, so which are also known about as the trap, neuter, release. So I believe they are available at the RAC Animal Welfare Center. So could you please tell us a bit about the TNR services offered by RAC AWC and the benefits this has for pet owners, stray animals, and the wider community?
So the TNR program is actually to control the overpopulation of the animals on the streets. This is how I describe it myself. As you said, it's trap, nutrient, and then we release. So we started this since the 2010, when the animal welfare has been founded by the volunteers themselves. And from there, we start to study it, how it's affecting the Emirates. And over the years, and we saw that, I mean, we let the public bring their animals. Like anyone can come and bring their cats to do the surgery under the TNR program, but the outcome wasn't that much. So then we study it with the Netherlands and French model, which is we found out if we do it per area or neighborhood and we focused on one space, we're really gonna tackle the main problem. And that's what we are doing at the moment. So an example, we're starting soon on Khazam area, which is we found out more than 500 cats are not nutrient. And that's, this is the beginning of the TNR program this year. Again, we didn't stop the TNR program because many people thought like we stopped the TNR program. We didn't, we just study it and we're trying to make it the right way to really control the issue or the problem itself.
would you say that people who are interested in getting TNR services for their pets, is that something that they can do at Raki WC?
Sure, 100%. We are offering the neutering and spay surgery. But yeah, I'm talking about that because we don't want to be confused between the TNR program with the pets from the owners. That's a different thing. The TNR, we're looking for the stray animals, which is we're trying to control. But a normal procedure or a normal operation, it's going to be for your pet or my pet, that's something else. But yeah, we're always recommending the side effect as a health of the animal or whatever. I'll keep it for Dr. Omar. He knows more than me on this. But as a public areas, this is what we're trying to do, to control it.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. Dr. Omar, I have a question for you. So, based on your nearly 30 years of experience working as a veterinarian, what would you say are some of the most frequently reported health concerns or complaints, really, that you've heard from pet owners?
Okay, the most common things we see as private business, obviously, although I have some experience back in the UK with the charities, but here in this part of the world, we do see a lot of poisoning cases where people need to be careful with what they put inside the house and how much the animals have an access to these kind of things. And also after being an animal diagnosed, for example, with the fungal infection, the fungal infection has to be treated inside the house, not only within the pet. So the problem will happen again if you do not take it seriously as in the house itself. Yeah, so there are so many, I mean, we do see different kind of cases, but again, Giardia, which is very common with pets, we do see that a lot. RTA, road traffic accidents, as fractures on orthopedics. People need to be aware about the care of the denture of the pets. This has to be, again, highlighted that every 6 months you need just to pay a visit for the vet just to see how is the teeth are doing, and if there is something has to be done, either if it's minor or major. This is all as part of the care for the pets. And before all that, I think for me personally, I always tell the clients that if you have a pet, the pet is something you're going to have for life. It's not only for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. So that's something I do see quite a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Omar.
Thanks.
How do you think this can be avoided or reduced? In general, you mentioned, of course, getting regular checkups.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about some of the most common types of maybe foods that animals ingest. I know that there are certain things cats cannot eat that perhaps pet owners don't know about, as well as dogs, for example, like chocolate.
Yes,
or
chocolate or plums or these kind of things. Plums, chocolates, these are quite harmful for dogs. For cats are very curious. Okay, so for example, if you leave any trace of liquid, they will come and smell it and try it. Okay, what I mean by that, if it's a Dettol, for example, they like to, with my cat even. Okay, so that's something you have to be really careful. Any kind of waste, any kind of, they will come and smell it and see. So that can cause that kind of reaction to them. That obviously we do see that quite more if you have a stray animals, which again, unfortunately, they don't know, so they come, and we had a lot of poisoning cases coming from spraying certain kind of insecticides. Yeah, these kind of things. Yeah. Okay.
would you maybe recommend then pet-proofing homes? Pet-proofing.
Yeah, I would. Yes, definitely I would. Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mo. So back to you, Mr. Abdullah. So a lot of efforts from the Animal Welfare Center and the government. So talking about the community itself, so how do you think the community members can contribute to solving the issue of abandoned and stray animals in Ras Al Khaimah? So you've just mentioned you starting in Khuzam for 500 cats, but how do you think the community can also be part of what you do and maybe come together and do something?
So this is, I really like that question, and the community. What we need from the community is to understand first the law itself. So the federal law in the UAE here, number 476 under 2008, if you go and read chapter 2, you will understand that what we are doing is fully legal. Because number one, I need the support of the community, and I don't want them like to talk about the law of, or the animal welfare side of it where they don't understand the law itself. So we're trying always to explain what is the law saying. That's the number one. Number two, the education part, how the community. So if you are a pet owner, I'm a pet owner, or you are a pet owner, right? Transfer your education to the others. That will help me to make my job much easier than how it used to be, right? Again, I encourage always the spaying. All my pets are spayed and neutered. I don't have an animal. Why? I have a problem already. If I'm not gonna tackle it, it's gonna increase. So I'm tackling the problem with doing those TNR programs and other stuff. So the community is, I want them to understand the law itself, because many people don't understand. And also I will go back to your point on the research where you said many people don't know where to go if they saw something on the animal itself. No, actually, if you read the law, there is a part where it says the Ministry of Climate Change. They have a full website. It's called biosecurealert.ae, which is you can go and put your complaint or file anything you think it's not right for the animal. And that's on 4 languages: Arabic, English, Urdu, and Chinese, I believe. So that website is there since 2017 or 2018. The website are there. Whenever you file a complaint there or you put any notes, it goes to the ministry transfers it to the right entities here. I receive a lot of calls from clients or people in Ras Al Khaimah. There is an owner who's treating his animal in a bad way. Yes, I would love to do something, but I want to follow also the procedure. So if you file this complaint or this report to the ministry, they will transfer it to the right entities here in Ras Al Khaimah. So yeah, the educational part is the most thing I will focus on for the community to help us come and understand and transfer this knowledge with the others.
So would you say, like, does it help if community members constantly report abandoned and stray animals through the channels or through PSD? Does that help you with the process?
100%. And last year, I believe we got around, I'm not sure about the number, 18 to 19 complaints. And we took an action and we transferred those to the ministry. So again, we go back to the law where the penalties are there. We don't want to go to that part, to the penalties and stuff. We're trying again to educate those people. So yes, we tried before also with the communities on Al Hamra village, and it was so helpful. It was so helpful. We sat with the people, and it was amazing campaign we did there. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. Dr. Omar, we touched a little bit upon healthcare. We talked a little bit about poisoning. But what type of healthcare should pet owners seek for their pets? Like, for example, vaccinations, checkups, maybe how often should they do these types of procedures?
Just to continue Mr. Abdullah's point, I think that as well is to implant the education side from the early stages of schooling, okay, which I think this is going to contribute a lot, because when the people goes back, or children goes back to their homes, they will talk to this to their parents, there will be a discussion, okay, and there will be probably some media support from that. I think this will launch, this will work. Okay, coming back to your question, for example, I mean, any person who have a pet, they need to be aware that there's 3 main things to do. which is the vaccination, okay, and the deworming to control the tapeworms, and the deflea, which controls the ectoparasites, okay. So these are the main three things which you have to do. For the vaccination, has to be done every year, okay, and deworming has to be done every 3 months, and the deflea with the new products has to be done again every 3 months. But there are other products that you can do every month. Okay, when it comes to general health checkup, I mean, the standard is, or the recommendation is to, for animals who are under 8 years old, you have to make the checkup at least, let's say, every 1 year, 2 years if there is no issues. But for the animals who are aged over 6 months, you need to visit the vet and just let them do the general blood profile just to see how's the internal organs. Recently, we have seen that there is diabetes has started to increase with the pets, which is something, again, the community needs to be aware about. Hormonal diseases, pancreatic problems, this is all we started to see, and again, the people started to be aware about. For the other kind of service, or the people need to be aware, for example, if you have the animal cannot put its front arm down, then obviously it can be something simple, but it can be a textbook of things. So you should not ignore, you should seek veterinary assistance. The same thing goes for the other parts of the body. We had a lot of people calling, the eye is only, for example, just lacrimating, but when it comes to using the ophthalmology exam as we are trained to, there is far more to that. There's changes in the retinopathy, and that's indication that the animal, for example, have possibility of diabetes or possibility of other complications. We do see a lot of ear mites here in this part of the world. So ear mites, again, is a big problem. With using, obviously, the otoscope, in some cases, we do even show the clients just to show how those creatures having a party inside the ear, okay, and they multiply very fast, and they cause a lot of damage into the eardrum. And in some cases, we had to, in dogs, obviously, we had to do some, because those creatures, they lay the eggs under the skin, and then this will cause a lot of problems if it's not dealt with. So these kind of issues we do see, and we advise people to always, again, the change of diet. People change diet immediately. This is wrong. You should never change the diet directly like that. Okay, you should go within 5 days, meaning that 50-50, 60, like go down until you within 5 days. Because some people, they buy this food, they don't like it, they bring another food. This will trigger a lot of issues. So please do not do this as a pet owners. You have to do it gradually within 5 days. And when it comes to medicated diet, it is entirely, obviously, whatever the vets will advise, and always follow up with the vet in case if you need to go back to the original diet or not. This is all has to be followed. Thank you.
I would like to add up one more thing here also. Thank you for mentioning this. I was one of the people who's his dog always have an ear infection, and I thought like just cleaning but please, it doesn't mean if you have a pet since 20 years old or 15 years or whatever, it doesn't mean that you don't seek knowledge. Go and seek the right people and ask. Don't wait until it gets worse, because there is a lot of cases also we had on the animal welfare where it's like the animal was like 1% like khalas, he's dying. But so seek the right people and go take them to the vets. Do a regular checkup.
Yes.
I think a monthly or every 3 months. Yeah,
Yes.
it's good for yourself and for your pet. Yeah.
Or even just pick up the phone. I mean, I
Yes.
had clients who I'm really like respect them a lot, because they call every like 1 month, every 2 months. Doc, we read this on the internet. So that's very important, guys. You know, there are a lot of things on the internet. I'm not saying wrong, but they've been done by non-professionals. So when you read, you have just to verify. If that's correct, then yes. If it's not correct, please do not go ahead. Otherwise, you will end up with probably problems. Yeah. Especially when it comes to medications. And people, we had cases where whatever they said, go and buy this from the pharmacy and this, but they don't know that this side effect can be quite a lot. Probably the animal will get better for 1 day, 2 days, and then the problems will start later. Okay, thank you.
That's really excellent advice, and I wholeheartedly agree. I think people sometimes can be a bit, not necessarily careless, but they might just dismiss something that they see because they think it's quite normal for dogs to have ear mites or fleas, and then they don't bother, checking up with a professional who would actually give them, proper advice. But Dr. Omar, something you mentioned that is very interesting. You said that dogs, I'm not sure quite if it's only dogs, maybe also cats, but they're becoming more likely to get diabetes. Is that something related to the diet or perhaps other things?
Obviously, diabetes is for dogs and cats, both. And normally we get diabetes type 2. There are, in some recent research in the Canadian publications, that there are very, very few cases has been a rise of a mixed type. But most of the things we see is type 2. And type 2 diabetes is really long and tiring process to maintain. And diagnosis again has to go through stages. People think that obviously the general perspective of the diabetes, when the animals start to drink a lot of water, go into the toilet more, the toilet is the urine is smelly. Okay, and these are only the flags, but this can be a differential diagnosis for many other things. Okay, but if it's diabetes, then the diabetes has to maintain through insulin injections, which is calibrated, and that's a hard part. You need to calibrate when the body will not cause a rejection to this dose. So it's really like an important to seek immediately an advice. And yes, it happens in both dogs and cats. When you asked about whether it's related, it can be two ways. Okay, there are genetics, which is we do ask the clients if they know there is a genetic problem. And but mainly we see it with when the people are a little bit not careful with the diets, okay, and the animal, they become obese, like the same as us as humans, then this will trigger the gene for the diabetes, and then we'll have to take the treatments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Abdullah, focusing on the services available by the Iraq Animal Welfare Center. So what services do you provide as a center that you think maybe the community members do not know about?
I think many people don't know, the whole UAE actually, that we have the biggest dog park, an open dog park, which is 7,000 square meter with the swimming pool on it for the dog themselves. This is, I believe, the most unknown. Maybe we didn't market it on the right way, but we have the biggest dog park in the UAE, and we always improving. We're making new stuff on it. I don't know. There is some stuff coming soon. I can't say it, but yeah, I believe it's the dog park. The dog park is the most unknown, I believe.
And that's within the center itself?
It's within the center itself.
Okay.
It's inside Iraq Animal Welfare Center.
So if people want to know more about that, can they visit the website?
Yeah, it's going to be on the website, rikwc.com. That's the Iraq Animal Welfare website. You will find all the details there and what it's contained and yeah, everything. It's on the website.
Do you happen to know if it's free of charge or if there's a particular cost?
So there is a daily fee and a monthly and a yearly fee on it. Yeah, and that comes with other benefits. So if you have the monthly or membership or the yearly membership, you will get a certain discount on the clinic itself or free services on Iraq Animal Welfare.
So would you say it's a good way for dogs to get exercise then?
100%. So even on the dog park itself, it contains the agility park, so they can be exercised, and we have the swimming pool side and off leash for the dogs, and For the small dogs, there is a private space for them, and the big dogs, they have their own space. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah.
Welcome.
Dr. Omar, another question for you. So what would you say are some inaccurate beliefs that people have regarding taking care of pets?
One of the most common thing we have as vets, I think even not only here, even outside, that people come sometimes and tell me that this kind of phobia from black cats. Okay, this is obviously this is not true. There's nothing got to do with whatever the cat is. Some people they have this kind of phobia, which is obviously we take them through and there is actually it brings good luck. It's not about the animal. The second thing we do come across about the hair of the animal. Obviously there are people who develop allergies. This is something they need to be dealing with. They need to make sure that this animal does not trigger the allergy for them. They need to have it for a trial. I always, when I have like pets, people coming to bring their pet, if you can find someone for them, I always advise with trial, because if you take and then you know that you have an allergy, this is a problem. And also about the certain types of, I would say, again, not right information. Okay, we have about the toxoplasmosis, which is very common in the, we do see it and people come and ask. And toxoplasmosis can be transferred to human from cats, but it has to be, and then obviously causing some problems, especially with ladies who are in late pregnancies. Okay, but this does not happen that easy. I mean, it has to be done in a very, very special circumstances. And so if you have any question or any kind of, just bring it to the professionals. Do not take it yourself, and then sometimes you got the wrong answer, and then you believe your decision based on that. Yeah. Okay.
I think some people were also particularly worried after the outbreak of COVID-19.
Yes.
Because I think there were some media reports
Yes.
citing how people could, I think, either get COVID from their cats
yes.
or...
Okay, that's really very good question. COVID-19 is cats. Obviously, we're talking about cats now. Okay, there are some cases have been reported, but again, that is circumstantial. The animal, the owner is being diagnosed with, and he is really sick, and then he's carrying his cat and then hold it like that. I mean, in any condition, obviously, this animal will transfer it. They don't show symptoms as much as what we show as a humans, but in their antibody titration is strong enough to prevent it. There are a couple of cases has been reported on the CPG, but it's not really, it's not something we do see quite often. Okay, so if you are someone who diagnosed with COVID, or you develop the symptoms, try to keep your pet away as much as possible. For dogs, there are again some cases, but never been reported as no, you cannot have a dog because of that. Obviously, for each case there is a rule or there is not rule, and we could not make any rule when it comes to this. Okay, so but you have to be careful and cautious.
And I will add up on this, especially on this part. The media are not helping us when they share such an information on it, because I don't remember the number. Maybe Raluca will help you here with the number. When they announced that animals carrying COVID-19, how many people come and surrender their animals? And that's not helpful. Seek the right information from the experts, as Dr. Omar said. So if you go until today to the World Health Organization website, look for this information. There is no proven cases that says the animal can contain the COVID-19. Nothing until today. Nothing at all. It's few cases as
there
the
are a
doctor
few
said.
cases, but they're very circumstantial. They've been done in some of them. They've been done under trials. So you're exposing the animal to this. So what? Of course, if you are exposing the animal, you have anybody who is like for me, for example, if I got COVID, I will not go and hug my cat and my dog, and of course I would. There will be a media. One thing to add that they found as well that the cat's hair can be a media to this, okay, but it's never been approved. Some people, they did not develop anything, some people they did. So it's really like, but the main thing is to take the precautions, okay, and do the checkups, and then you will find out.
Thank you, Dr. Omar. Mr. Abdullah, so if talking about owning a pet, so if someone decides to own a pet for the first time, what is the end-to-end process, I can say, that they need to do in terms of like registration, maybe, you know, vaccination, checkups, anything? What do they need to do from A to Z as owning a pet?
First of all, I believe that the first question we always ask on the animal, are you an owner of previously, like, do you have pets before? If not, then straight up I will go to the question, can you afford it? Because people think like if you own a pet, that means I'm gonna give him any type of food, I'm gonna give him it's not cheap to own a pet, to be honest. It's not cheap. So if you can't afford it, don't. Like, don't take the animal and make him suffer and then throw him. That's not right. So I would say, can you afford it? Do you have the right space for him? Don't take an animal and throw it outside on the sun or on the, we call it izba, on the farm or whatever, like under the sun. No. So do you have the right space? Can you afford it? Do you have time for this animal? Again, don't take the animal and keep him on the cage 24/7. You can't stay in your room even if you have a full entertainment system with you. You can't stay more than, I believe, 2 or 3 hours. You can't. So do you have the time to take this animal, to walk him around? Again, I will leave the health part for the animal with doctor. He knows more than me. But so I'm always suggestion, if you want an animal, you want to be a pet owner, find the right space. Check yourself financially. Do you have the right time to spend with that pet? And then come and decide to own it. That's the process, I believe.
So and after, so if someone decided to own a pet and then they believe they can take care of the pet, so is there any type of registration they should go through the centers?
Right. So number one, whenever you have a pet, we always put the microchip. So you're gonna be, it's gonna be microchipped under your name. So you are the owner, and that's also reduce the loss of those animals, dogs or cats. So microchip, and then regularly we're doing a visit to the owners' houses, even after a certain of time. We have their phone numbers. We're always requesting photos from them for the animals, his condition. If he take the animals and didn't come back to us within 3 months or 4 months, we give him a call. We always call him. Is he fine? Did you take him for his vaccination? Either with us or with any other vets around him. Maybe he's from far away, so we don't force him to come to us. But at least, do you know that it needs vaccination? Do you know this? So we always give this type of advice.
Just to add one thing as well, please. If you have a pet and then, for example, he had a wound or he started to vomit, there is what's up. Okay, send to the vet the photo. It is very important. Probably, like I had many cases where I tell them, okay, send me the photo. If it's in a way that we can judge on it as professionals, that this is just saliva, this is just, stop the food for a few hours. Activated charcoal is very important to keep in your homes in case if there is poisoning, because it will conjoin and then prevent the poison to cause the case until you get it to the vet. So this is actually like always communicate with the vet by pictures, by or videos or whatever you see. This will help a lot for us even to make the diagnosis in some cases and advise you to do the next step. Okay, thank you.
Another question, Mr. Abdullah, because you mentioned, of course, that animals that are adopted are microchipped. I think some people might have some they might have some misconceptions about microchipping. Maybe because of the abundant sci-fi films that are out there about how people and animals are being chipped. So would you say that this is a humane procedure? Is it painful for the animals?
It's,
Um,
it's again, is it painful, doctor?
No. If you know where to
Nothing
put in
at
between the
all.
shoulder blade and then you lift the
Yeah.
skin, I mean, I have not experienced this.
Uh, yeah, so for me, I'll take it this way. So if you have a pet with you, it stays with you like 5, 6, 7, 10 years, whatever, suddenly it got lost. If there is microchip, no way I would know you are the owner. But if it's microchip, that's a simple thing. If it's microchipped, I have your mobile number, I can call you, I have your pet. So it's that much important for the animal first, and then for you as an owner. And yeah, as Dr. Omar said, it's not painful. Don't worry, we will not harm your dog or your cat. So yeah, it's much better to always microchip the animal. And to be honest, we are studying to make it mandatory for all the animals. On the law, again, it's mandatory now for the goats and cows. It's mandatory, all of them, but it's not a microchip, normal microchip. It's a clip on the ear itself with the chip number. And we are studying, and let me say we are on the final stage to make it really mandatory for those owners to put microchipped on their animals.
That's great. And I think also a big part of this conversation is just improving accountability so that pet owners, know that they are responsible for another life. And it's not just, a pet that you can kick around, but really, a lifelong companion, as Dr. Omar aptly put it.
100%. Even I will add up one more thing. I just remember, on Saudi Arabia, if you lost your animal, you get fined. If the government catch it, you get fined for it. If you didn't prove that it's really got lost, or you didn't report it, you get fined on this. So that's something make them like really take care of their animals. So yeah, 100%.
And they are masters in escaping.
Yeah.
If they can find any way.
Yeah, that's a. That's a,
really.
no, I.
Happens to me.
I mean,
It happens to all of us, man.
I think we can think of pets as small children sometimes.
Yeah, true.
With very active,
Yes.
very high energy levels.
Extremely smart.
Yes, of course. One of my colleagues actually, he told us that his cat found ways to open doors.
Yes. Yeah.
So I wouldn't underestimate, your pet's ability to
Yeah.
leave the house.
Absolutely. They are very smart.
All right, thank you both. Dr. Omar, another question for you. So over the span of your professional career, have you seen many people bring in wounded or malnourished, stray or abandoned animals? So not their pets, but animals they've seen on the street. Have you seen that quite often or not as much?
Yeah, I do see it, but obviously, as we are working closely with the RAC Animal Welfare, so in most of the cases which comes as malnutrition, and the animal was found in the street, okay, if there is no microchip or this kind, we cannot call the owner, then we refer it to the RAC Animal Welfare. And and some cases we have a lot like really very kind-hearted people. He's driving and suddenly a pet in front of him, but they carry the pet and they take the responsibility and they bring it to us to treat, which is really highly, highly appreciated. Yeah, but we do see quite often these cases. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Omar. Mr. Abdullah, so what is the most probably common misconception that community members have regarding stray and abandoned animals or animal welfare?
I don't have a comment on this, to be honest. I can't comment on this. Really, I don't have a comment on this.
Is anything probably reported?
I'm always focusing to involve the community with me on my journey, right? We end up sometimes with the good people, with the right people who understand the work or the process, and they respect the procedures. But sometimes, again, you end up with some people who's working for their own benefits or their own agendas. So,
Okay, maybe is there something? You said you receive a lot of complaints or
Yes.
comments from the community members. Is there something maybe that people think is the animal welfare center responsibility, but it's not, or maybe they report something they think is wrong, but it's not. It's completely fine. So
yeah, so that's why I said, like, sometimes you end up with the wrong people who don't want, or they like understand the law per whatever they think it's right for them. So I'm always saying, when there is anything, any abandonment cases of the animal, if you saw someone is harming any animal, you go to the right channels, which is the security alert website. It's there. You can report it directly, and they will reach us, or they will reach the right entity in Ras Al Khaimah. It's either municipality or the economic department or the PSD or the animal welfare. So yeah, always go and seek the right channels. And if you want to know about the law, go read about it. It's on the Ministry of Justice website. And if you go now to the website, elaws.moj.gov.ae, you will find the laws, the whole laws of the United Arab Emirates, and you will find the part where it's contained the animal laws. Read it carefully, ask the experts. They will make you understand. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. Dr. Omar, one last question for you before we move on to some of the questions that we received online. So in general, what advice would you give someone who's considering fostering or adopting a pet?
Okay, first, you have to look at it carefully from your own position. I mean, financially mainly, are you able to take care of the pet? Okay, again, if you have other pets, you have to consider if that pet will be a new member, will be again a good idea or not. Also, you need to consult with the always do an exam for the pet before you have it, because if it's something you purchased from the shop, I always advise the people, if you purchased a pet, always take at least a paper for 5 days or 7 days quarantine, and then bring it to the sometimes they recommend a vet, or they can bring it to their own vet. If there is something wrong, you have the right to either be paid for the treatment or compensated or something like that. Also, you have to consider that the pets, they need emotional, like you have to be emotionally ready for them. Okay, and especially like dogs, they need to be taken out twice. They need a lot of training. Okay, cats, they are different. The cats can take care of themselves, but again, they are very affectionate. They need to be taken care of. Always, you have to choose the right kind of diet for them, because there are so many very, very tasty diets, but they are very bad for the pets. Okay, because the good brands, they are not that tasty, because they do not put a lot of sugar, a lot of flavors, a lot of preservatives that will make it acceptable by the pet. Obviously, we have seen so many cases that I can tell now that probably a lot of people go and buy from normal brand, and then after probably few weeks or months, they will start to see the hairs falling and the animal vomiting and everything, but there's nothing happening. It's actually because of the diet you picked. Okay. And obviously the regular checkups with the vets. This is what they need. Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Omar. Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. So I think we covered all the questions. So now we can move on to some of the questions that we received online from the community. I can ask the first question. So the question is, why do you think the idea of owning or adopting a pet is more popular in foreign cultures with compared to the local culture? Well, first, do you think it's actually true? And then if yes, why do you think the reason is?
Education. Maybe the education. The education goes always number one on this stuff. And then maybe the culture. So the education and then the culture. Now, thanks God, we have the leaders here in the UAE. They are always supporting and open for everything. And I believe we are the first now, officially, the first pet-friendly emirate in the United Arab Emirates, which is pets are allowed even to be with you in the hotels itself. So, yeah. So yeah, it's education and then the culture.
Anything, Dr. Omar, you wanna add anything?
No, really, it's, it's concluded here.
Sure.
I very much agree with you, Mr. Abdullah, and I think that's something we also emphasized a lot in the strategic report, because we found all stakeholders kept saying over and over again that education is key. People need to know about animal welfare. Children need to be taught this at a very young age. Otherwise, you know, they might have a lot of misconceptions about animal care.
So we work closely with the Ministry of Education now to bring up those sessions to the schools, but the pandemic stopped us from doing this. But we had a full plan in 2020, but yeah, since the school was from home, so we stopped that. But now we are working again closely with them to bring this initiative back to the schools. We will start with the young children and even take it to the higher colleges and universities and so on. So yeah, we are working with them. We're trying, and yeah, as I said, the education and the culture, it's the hard part here.
Yeah, very much agree with you. And I think, I mean, as an Arab myself, and you know, having studied in the UAE, I think sometimes we don't necessarily emphasize how rooted, you know, being compassionate toward animals is, even in Islam,
Yes.
because we have, you know, the saying, like we have many sayings related to, you know, being compassionate towards animals. We even have hadith on it, but perhaps these are not emphasized as enough in schools, which is why, you know, children sometimes don't grow up, you know, respecting animals, or you know, quite knowing how to treat them with care and compassion. So yeah, another question that we received online was essentially, where should animal cruelty be reported in Iraq? And I think you touched upon this, but if you could just answer it again.
So I will not say there is cruelty here in Iraq itself. We're always referring to the federal law. It's number 876 under 2018. It contains everything. It contains everything. And whenever you have a question or a report, as I said, we're always referring to the Biosecure Alert website, which is handled by the Ministry of Climate Change themselves. Yeah.
Thank you. I think a question also on the education part. So how can we educate the public about scams and illegal breeders?
Doctor,
Well, obviously, it's a problem.
you guys facing this a lot.
Yeah,
right?
we do face this a lot, and I think there,
Especially the
my,
business owners.
my opinion that there should be a hotline that you can report, the same as I think we have in UK or in most of the. There is a hotline that you can report to this.
But-
Okay, but they're part of the investigation. That's their job.
Right.
But for us, we need to report.
But again, here it goes back also to the point where is the microchip? If we enforce this microchipping, it will never happen. It will never happen because it's not easy to remove the microchip from the animal. It's under the skin and it's not easy.
Surgery.
Yeah, so you need to do a surgery. So on such a thing, I know maybe I believe that the question here are referring to some of the websites here where they selling dogs online or cats or whatever. On each emirate, I believe the right way is to go to the economic department. The economic department here in Ras Al Khaimah. You will report it there with them. They will investigate it themselves. Is this guy has a license to sell this? If not, it's end of story. It's end of story. Immediately they will shut it down. If you have a license, some people they have a license to sell animals, but right, then give me the from where you got those animals. You're breeding. Do you have a license to breed the animals? If not, they shut it down again. So yeah, on such a cases, the economic department are the right channel for this.
What would you say people are interested in buying pets? Of course, we always encourage adoption because there are so many animals looking for a home. But for those who are considering purchasing a pet and they want to make sure that you know, this pet is purchased through a legal vendor, what can the customer or the client ask for in this case to make sure that they're not purchasing a pet that was bred illegally or an animal that was bred illegally?
For me, right, we always prefer adopt, don't buy, right? But I'm not going against those shops who are selling because they are following the law and the regulations. But make sure whatever you're gonna buy, like have a full history, a health checkup, or this type of documents. Make sure to register it with the government. Don't just leave it because there is also this part where I believe, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, the shop owners sometimes they take it to any vet, just microchip it and say it's registered. No, it doesn't work like this. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely. No, absolutely right. There is age restrictions as well. You know that some animal people, they want to sell the pet, so they put it as probably older, okay, receive the vaccination, and then obviously they bring it after a week or two because the animal is not ready yet to receive these kind of vaccines. Okay, so that's why I go back to my statement. Whenever you go to a place, make sure that you get a paper of quarantine, and if they don't give it to you, then there is something not right.
And I reported myself someone here in Ras Al Khaimah, where I saw he advertised for cats, which is 2 weeks. What are you doing? 2 weeks. How come they're gonna survive? You're taking them from their mother. Who's gonna feed them? How are you gonna feed them? So yeah, be careful when you go and buy those stuff. Always ask in Ras Al Khaimah, I said ask Ras Al Khaimah Animal Welfare Center. Understand first. Don't spend money like don't spend your money on an animal that you're gonna buy and after a few days you're gonna just throw it on outside.
Yeah, definitely agree. Thank you both. Another question that we had online, and this will be our last before we open the floor to the audience, is from someone who is thinking of adopting. So this person said, I'm thinking of adopting a cat or a dog, but I have a very young infant. So is it safe for me to adopt or to foster a pet, with an infant that's under 1 or 2 years of age?
Adopting obviously is always encouraged, as I said. Okay, there is a certain time where like a child needs the mother. Okay, so there is a certain time where those kittens or puppies needs the mom, especially for the probably first 2 to 3 months. This is very essential. Okay, and then after that they need to be like gradually, not as Mr. Abdullah said. There are people who just giving them like probably 1 week or 2 weeks. Okay, so yeah, it's very important that you give the right time. Okay, and know that the age is suitable for these animals to be adopted. Yeah, it's very important. Yeah.
And if the person in question has a baby, like a human child,
Yes.
and they're considering adopting or fostering, is that safe?
Okay, that is something. Yeah, it depends really, and it needs a lot of monitoring. Okay, animals are extremely passionate towards
Have the right space for your animals too. If you have the right space, I believe, yeah, it's fine. But if you don't, you're careless. So no, I don't think so. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Omar. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah. Great answers, great discussions, and of course, this is one of many initiatives coming, hopefully, to raise awareness in the community. So, of course, before we finish, so we're going to open the floor to the audience. This is the right time to ask. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, and the mic will be passed to you. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for your information today, and it's great to be in Emirates Pet Friendly. My questions is related to other people, not myself. I've not experienced it. On social media, shall we say, Facebook, for example, a lot of people struggle, and this is coming back from COVID and financials, is Dubai, for example, most people export their animals out via Dubai. But the procedures for exporting your animal, dog or cat, is not well known in Ras Al Khaimah. For example, to get the health and the pass to the export, everyone has to take it all the way to Dubai to get that procedure and then bring it back. So how is Ras Al Khaimah going to help with that? Second point, relating to people's costs of animals and medication, that's why some of them maybe are abandoning them, is why is animal pet insurance not available that will cover all that in UAE, not just in Ras Al Khaimah?
We just talked about it.
Okay, so that's my 2 points.
We just had a discussion about this. Okay, thank you for your question. The pet relocation, it's a service that the animal welfare used to do it for the client, but we stop it for let me say the right procedures where we got stuck with the ministry many times. The law or the procedures keep changing always, and that's in the whole world, like we can't control it. Sometimes you can import or export, an example, certain type of dogs, but the next day you're surprised with it's banned already. So we stopped that service temporarily. But there is, I believe, a lot of clinics here in Ras Al Khaimah. They are doing these services. I'm not sure, I don't know specifically, but there is clinics who's doing these services. But when it comes to RAC animal welfare, we take it case by case, to be honest, if we can do it or not, because it's a little bit costly, and it needs sometimes a lot of procedures. Like an example, if you're transferring an animal from the UAE to Australia, your dog or cats need to be on quarantine for 6 months before it's transferred. So it's a long procedures, and some owners understand, some owners don't. Right? So yeah.
And they mentioned also pet insurance, I think.
Okay, when it comes to pet insurance, obviously there are, we've been approached recently by a couple of companies. We used to do our own because if you work in this industry in the West, it's something you need to provide. And it worked well, really. I mean, because the client will save a lot on this. But recently it's been developed by a couple of companies, and I myself signed up with one of them. Okay, and those at the moment they do cover the emergency cases, which is again the hefty bill when it comes to emergency cases. But for the outstanding cases, for example, like cancer, God forbidden, or problem with diabetes, or incontinence, all these kind of things, they are still discussing it, because I myself raised it with them. Okay, as well as my other clinics in Dubai. So we all raised it to be added. If these added, then it will be feasible, I guess, in my opinion. Which I even showed them my own thing, because you have to cover these things, because otherwise it will not be considered as insurance, because the animal needs to be cared. As most of you have pets, it has to be ongoing, and the insurance company you are with, it has to provide the services that you can stay with them. So I think it's coming. It's moving well, and hopefully, I mean, it's starting to become even in the media. There are other companies which really, it was a couple of years ago, like 5 years ago, they started, but they were not up to that kind of level of service. So we like most of the clinics, they stopped dealing with them and they shut down. But now they came back with the bigger names that I myself know from Europe, okay, and we know that they are, because any vet who works in that industry, you need to fill the forms, you need to know what you are talking about, you need to speak to the insurers, okay, what's your limit, all these kind of things. So it's been implanted in the same way. So myself, I feel so comfortable now that I can actually like fill the form, and hopefully we can get good service from them. Okay, thank you.
It is something new, I think, but yeah, it's so interesting because even we had a discussion there, and it's coming. I think it's coming. It's time now, especially with the announcements here of in Ras Al Khaimah as a pet-friendly Emirates. I think it's coming. Yeah,
That's something that we can discuss in the
sure,
meetings.
100%.
Quarterly meetings. Thank you. Any other questions?
First of all, I'd like to thank the panel. I mean, I've been involved in the pet industry in this country for the last 19 years, and this is the first time I've ever heard any of these issues addressed publicly, and I thank you all for doing that. I was very interested, Mr. Abdulla, in the information you gave about microchipping. Obviously not a procedure I'm not familiar with, but I'd like to ask, has there ever been any discussion that you know of, or might we be able to generate some discussion about a federalized database for microchips?
There is a federal law. It's already there is a federal database. There is already. Still, they didn't share it with everyone. It's they have been working on this since 2 years. They added more than from the last statistics, I believe more than 1,500 animals has been added to this database. They still coordinating with the vets around the UAE to take the information also from them to add it on this database, and it's going to be shared with the whole vets as a one system.
Yeah, because you would agree the problem with the system right now
100%.
is that unless you walk in with that pet
Yep.
to the place it was microchipped,
Yeah.
you can't get it back to its home.
100%.
And that's a real outage, and why we end up with so many dogs off of the street that are already identifiable,
Right.
but we can't get them home.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
But there is a database. I don't know when they're gonna announce it. I'm a part of that committee on the ministry itself, but I don't have an exact date when they're gonna start coordinating with the vets, or I don't know if they already started with you
Actually,
guys.
again, around the same time, about 2 years ago, I was approached by someone from Dubai ministry, and then I suggested to them that what we have in UK normal system, or even Australia, or any like in the western part, where the microchip is not only a number, it's actually storage for all the information. So I don't need to pick up the phone and tell, for example, one of my colleagues, okay, well, please send me this. It's actually, the database is already there, okay? So it's backed up automatically. So whatever you put in your computer, it will be, whatever you write as history, it will be backed up, okay? And unless if you want to keep it, you have to show the reason, and that's but I think this makes a huge difference. I mean, for us, I receive cases sometimes from Abu Dhabi or from Dubai or Al Ain, but you need a long time to get the information, and by that time probably it's too late. So I think it would be a great idea if we could, if that's been implanted. There was an application called Elif, started in Dubai.
In Dubai.
Yes, and that one we were invited to be part of it back when I was working back in Dubai, but still it didn't launch in the scale that we are looking for. Yeah.
It's actually one of the suppliers, just
Yes.
to add up on Alif itself.
Yes.
So Alif contain a lot of, it's a big database by Dubai municipality. And one of the suppliers, he was also a suggestion, or I think he already have those type of microchips where if you have this application, you don't need a microchip system or a microchip device to read it. You just go, it's by NFT, by the phone itself, and it will show you the whole details. So Dubai municipality are working on this too. I attended 2 meetings with them, and I saw the system, and it was quick, accurate, and yeah, I hope it's
And
It
just to
will
add,
launch
like,
in the
with
UAE.
these kind of systems, you will get tracking.
Yes.
Tracking
Yeah,
system,
yeah.
which is very important. If Salukis or these kind of animals who like run wild in the desert, then how can you catch up with them? So with these actually you can trace them easily.
Maybe on your next meeting with them, you could tell them I'm holding my breath. I'm waiting. Second part of my question, I just wanted to address the biosecurity alert. There are issues still behind this, and I know it's a very, a heated debate, but I myself in the last week have faced an issue with a dog being cruelly treated in Dubai, just 2 houses along from my son's home. The report was made onto the website, it was passed to Dubai municipality, and less than 12 hours later they closed the case, having not even visited the property.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
One of our volunteers will look into it.
Right.
And it had to be reported over 20 times before it got some traction, and it did get some traction,
Right.
and that's great news.
Yeah.
But then what happened as a result, in the first instance, the tenant of the property just denied that they had a dog at all. So of course the municipality's hands were tied, they could do nothing.
Right.
Then the case continued. They went back. They said, "We know there are dogs here. Don't be silly." Yeah. And the guy admitted that he had a dog. The consequence of that second visit is that the guy has now taken the dog and put it in a room upstairs where it just screams and cries all night. And so, of course, all of the neighbours have now further reported that case. Yeah. But the ministry is now in the awkward position and saying, unfortunately, this is no longer a cruelty case, this is a noise case. So you have to take it to the police.
Right.
And that's why I asked my question, and thank you for reading it, where do we report? Because obviously it's difficult, it's moving from one area to another,
Okay.
and people
Understood.
don't know where to go.
Understood.
Sorry, but I had the same case here in Al Hamra recently. They don't know where to go. You're absolutely right. So let's hear.
Okay. My answer will be, are we reporting on the right way? Are we using the system on the right way? Do we know how to report it? Because there is some cases that we had here in Ras Al Khaimah. I had one complaint through the system where someone took a picture inside someone's house. He claimed the wall and to show the animals. That's not right. That's not the right way you're reporting that. It's inside the house, it's private property, you cannot do it. That will put you on an issue with the legal or with the system. Such a case, yes, the ministry are right. They are inside now a private property, right? But here, Neil, you can go back again to the law. If you go and debate with the ministry, I do it myself. I take the federal law, I go to the chapter that I want to debate on. This is the chapter I want to debate on. Who wrote this law? Is it you guys? It has been approved by the President of the United Arab Emirates or not? Then let's debate on this. It says here, the animal rights are 1, 2, 3, 4. If I saw something wrong, I'm supposed to go to this website and to report it. I reported. You didn't take an action. That's a you problem. That's a you problem. But again, did we do it on the right way? Did we report it on the right way? Because that makes a lot of difference, the way you report it. And even on Al Hamra, we have tons of cases in Al Hamra. But on Al Hamra, from my side, doctor, I'm sorry, I'm always stopping my people to go and interfere. Because it's always wrong information. It's always contain wrong information. When there is a case, now we are involving and working with Al Hamra closely. It used to be like Al Hamra as a private community. We are not allowed to come inside and to do it. Plus, the animals are there, like all the pet owners are, most of them in Ras Al Khaimah, I think, they are living on Al Hamra. But now we are working closely with them. So when there is such a case, we reach the Al Hamra people, Al Hamra yeah, Al Hamra community people and try to have a solution for this. If not, then we take an action and interfere. But most of the cases, like someone is walking his dog or something, or they just reporting some, sorry to say it, some silly stuff. I'm sorry for my language, but there is some really silly reports that really it doesn't contain us, and some other reports where it has nothing to do with us as an animal welfare. Like someone is offering his dog, he want to sell his dog. Well, report it to the economic department. Maybe the guy has a license for it. How come I should go there and investigate him? I don't have the rights to do this. Someone on his house, he's not treating the animal on the right way. Here again, the animal welfare don't have the right to go and knock the door and let me see your animals inside. But the municipality, they have a part on this. It's not the public service department or the health department on the municipality. They has a part where they have, they can go and investigate this case inside the house, inside the private house. So it depends on the way how you're reporting the stuff. But yes, such a case is, yeah.
I mean,
I know what you're talking about.
Like in England, we have the PDSA. I used to be with them.
RSPCA.
And the RSPCA, we used to report people. I mean, I used to be with them for some time.
There was even on Jordan.
They are now
I
in
know.
Jordan. Yeah, I
I
know one
know
guy.
it, I
He
know
works
it.
with them. He
Yes.
goes and they go and they collect the animals and make investigations. So I think like a full kind of body like this has to be like, you know, part of the police or part of whatever. You know, that these kind of things that they can go and have the power to investigate.
They have a warrant.
Oh, they have a warrant. Yes.
Again, if you have the proof, the municipality here, or the health department on the municipality, they take it to the court. And there is a case in Ras Al Khaimah that happened 2 years ago, where an owner has been fined with 250,000 dirham for cruelty. There is a case.
I heard.
Yeah, 250,000. The animal welfare was involved on that even case. So yeah, if you reach the right people, 100%, you will find it.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Thank you both. Actually, I think it's also really good that Mr. Abdullah, you brought up the fact that sometimes people report very silly things, in the sense that sometimes people report things that are perfectly legal, like you walking your dog in an area where it's completely fine to walk dogs. So, I would be interested in knowing this, but how would you make sure that people know when something is legal versus legal, aside from just, looking at the law? Perhaps maybe there could be signs that...
If you hit any animal, that's a cruelty, right? It's simple. But I get sometimes a report on people like, he was walking his dog and his dog peed here or whatever and he didn't clean it. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Well, like, what do you want me to do? Ask the guy to clean it. Ask the guy to, but yeah, if you're hitting the animal, that's a cruelty. If you get the animal on like we found one animal last month on a cage behind someone's house, and he was living there, and I believe the animal was there for almost 3 or 4 months. He wasn't out, because when I went there myself with the team, the animal was like, the dog was so aggressive to us. We stayed with him like for almost 3-4 hours to make him calm, and then we took him from there. So that's another cruelty. This type of stuff, yeah, you can report it. If you find such a thing, you can report it. But yeah.
I think probably there should be, like, people should differentiate between asking and reporting. So if someone, let's say if someone is walking a dog on a corniche or something, you're not sure whether it's allowed or not. So instead of just reporting that this is a wrong action, you can just ask, like, is it allowed for people to walk their dogs?
Yeah.
If yes, then you shouldn't report it. But if not, then you should escalate it to a case maybe.
Now, Sagar, we are all on social media. Each one of us are on social media, right? Everything is announced. Like, as we said, now I can say it from here. The Flamingo Beach, Ma'ariyat Beach, Ras Al Khaimah Beach, Al Rams Beach, Sha'am Beach. all of you can take your dogs there anytime you want. No one can say anything. Neil,
Can you take the signs down that say you can't?
I'm working on it.
That's a good point.
I'm working on it. I know it, right? So, but no, okay. When this when they announced this, it was 4 days ago, right?
Yes.
Like 4 days ago, they announced this. You can take your dog on Cornish Al Qawasim, but you can't take your aggressive dog there if he's aggressive. You can't walk with the dog without the leash. Yeah, on leash you can walk your dog even on the beach. Because I had a case where also, yeah, one of them, he removed the leash and the dog attacking a young kid or whatever. So, yeah, that's a report that we can take an action on. But yeah, on social media, they always announcing on those stuff. But for us as an animal welfare, I'll make sure they update this on the website on a regular basis and to keep sharing this information on our social media accounts.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the signs will make a very big difference, probably. You'll get less complaints or calls. And also, maybe something else that people can do is they can just ask maybe security guards, if there are security guards in an area. Yeah, like in, I know, Al Marjan or certain areas, if there are security, they will probably know whether or not, dogs can be walked in certain areas, which will reduce the number of calls that are received by the government.
Here, where is another tricky part here? Al Marjan, Min Al Arab, and I will say Al Hamra. Now we are working on it, but Marjan and Min Al Arab, they are private entities, which is I can't say it's allowed to walk your dog there, or it's up to them. But we are close now. We are closing a deal with Al Hamra, which is to bring those things to the community itself. So Al Murjan and Min Al Arab, it's a private places that we cannot say it's allowed or not allowed. I don't know. Whatever they think is right for them, because sometimes they're feeling like when we allow the dogs, especially the dogs there, they will keep the dirt everywhere and stuff like that. But for us, even on Flamingo Beach, the upcoming board, it's gonna be like clean up after your dog, blah blah blah. But even though if he don't have the right tools to remove the animals dirt or whatever, we have our people there. They are cleaning 24/7, so they're gonna keep the place cleaning. We're trying like to bring this in the whole emirate itself.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, this session is going to be available on YouTube if you want to rewatch it, if you missed any information, or if you want to share it with other people, so that's going to be available.
Yes, please do. So I guess that's it. That is a wrap. Thank you very much to our esteemed guest speakers. Your knowledge was, as always, very insightful, and sharing your opinions with the community is the best way to really raise awareness. And of course, thank you very much also to our attendees for their enthusiasm and engagement. And please be sure to follow us, like us, retweet everything that we're posting on social media. This is the start of a year-long awareness campaign about animal welfare, and we really want to live up to that, pet-friendly emirate label that we received in RAC. So, yeah, thank you very much once again, and we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming events. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Janan. Thank you, Sagar. And we hope we can do like those sessions more, because that's increasing the education part, especially the education part. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thanks.